What's we got to do?
No, don't look at me. I'm not the guy.
You're not gonna be the one to do that.
I couldn't tell you. I tried to make a promo once, and I made it for Dirt and Sprague back when they were the noon to 3.
Oh, look at that! How'd that go for you?
I don't know. I had multiple people listen to it. Had to kill it.
Oh,
It was a bummer.
had to put it down.
Hurt my ego. It was like Old Yeller.
It happens. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Will Ortner. I'm Danny Morang. No Dusty Hera in today. He is out for the week. And for those listening, yes, we are back today. It will be a short show. We'll be preempted or post-empted by, was it Duke's Mayo Bowl?
Yes.
We had the Duke's Mayo Bowl coverage starting here at 2 o'clock. So we'll just be in for 2 hours today. But we have a ton to get to. Most importantly, Will Ortner, how was your Christmas?
It wasn't too bad. My family's out of town, so I'm at home alone watching the dog. So
Home alone?
Yeah, literally.
Nobody broke in?
Perfect timing. I tried. There was some hoodlums running around my neighborhood last night, and I was hoping maybe
Tried to set
they'd
some
break
traps
in.
for him?
Well, I got 2 guns. We're good.
Wow. You need to escalate these things. Oh, not those 2 guns.
Those are the 2 guns I was talking about.
Womp, womp.
Yeah, no. So I went over to aunts and uncles, man. Not too bad. How was your Christmas?
It was good. Did the things with the niece and the nephew, my sister's kids, Christmas Eve. Unfortunately, there was a passing on my brother-in-law's side of the family, so we moved stuff around so that we did all that with my side of the family on Christmas Eve, so he could go be with his family on Christmas Day. But I tell you what, man, I get it now with the kids for sure. When you get them the thing that they want the most, and oh my God, this is what I most wanted. They completely lose their S. It's so much fun.
Right.
It's so much fun. One of the presents I got the family was tickets to a Blazer game, and last year was the kid's first Blazer game. Well, that's not true. It was the first one they could remember because they had gone previously as little babies with the earmuffs on. So this is the last year they had. I mean, it was a terrible game, but they loved every second. Blaze came up, took pictures with them, and they had some good seats, and just stuff that they remembered. So I want to make that a thing that they get to do at least once a year. It was something that I got to do a ton growing up, so I want to make sure they have that opportunity because it was fundamental for me. But then I did Christmas Day at the in-laws, and I love my in-laws, but they're quite traditional, and there was no sports on.
What? You can't do that.
So I was a bit of a crackhead, fiending for my sports fix, as it were, checking my phone quite regularly, in and out through the early NFL window. Shout out the Antonio Pierce Raiders beating the Chiefs. They did not upset the Chiefs. They beat the Chiefs. America's team upsets no one. I will say that. We'll get to that coming up here in a bit. Luka is still the Phoenix Suns' daddy, which is one of the more interesting storylines coming out of the early NBA season. Is the Suns in just being a complete S show. KD, Kevin Durant, throwing out there that or leaking out to Woj that he's not happy. So that experiment's going incredibly well with the new ownership down there in the Valley of the Suns. But it's sports pretty hard this weekend. Did you have any particular sports moments that got the sports pants tight?
Well, the Lamar Jackson safety is the most hilarious thing of all time.
How so?
Well, I mean, think about it. If Lamar Jackson is running at full speed, I think he at least gets to the 1 yard line there. But to watch the ref start to fall, and from where I was on the couch, I watched and saw the ref start to fall well before. And you can see where Lamar's starting to go, and he doesn't see that the ref's falling. It was like watching a car crash before it ever happened. It's like they are going to hit. It's going to be awesome. And then everyone's going to be mad on Twitter. And I couldn't wait for it.
You're just waiting for the outpouring of stupidity.
Went right to Twitter. And can you imagine what would have happened if the Ravens lose that game by 2? Can you imagine the
No, because they
freak out?
beat the brakes off the 49ers.
No, which that also was awesome. As a Seahawks fan.
Okay, I was like trying to figure out where you were going with this. I was like, wow, why was that awesome for you?
Well, sometimes you like to see your rivals lose.
Oh, no. I
don't think the Seahawks are going to beat them at any point, even if they got to play them again somehow miraculously in the playoffs. Seattle's not beating them. So when other people beat them, that's fun for me.
Okay, that's fair. That's the kind of pettiness I can get behind. There's absolutely no reason to not enjoy those kind of things. I mean, this is the reason for the season is pettiness.
No, 100%. That's what makes the world go round.
Right? Speaking of, do we make out like bandits at Christmas time? Get any cool presents?
I got some Buffalo Trace.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And some new little cups. I'm growing up, man. I'm
look at
becoming an
you.
adult.
Have you bought your own shoes yet?
Kinda. I mean, these were the shoes I have right now were a gift card, but I picked them out myself. But yeah, no, they're kind of a birthday present. Kinda, I picked them out myself. We're getting there, like,
Oh, God.
I pay my own rent now. I went on rent today to try and pay it early.
Oh?
It did not let me.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but I want to pay early now, so then I know how much money I have for New Year's Eve.
Oh, okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down now.
Yeah, look, man, I make my priorities known.
Yeah.
I've got important things I got to do.
Now, speaking of priorities, make sure if you are listening, either here on the radio or on YouTube, and remember, we are on YouTube now, youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan, and text us if you're, whether you're at home, whether you're at work, you're lucky enough to be home still and taking the week off, hit us up on the Vancouver Ford text line and let us know how your Christmas went. If anybody had a disastrous Christmas, I 100% want to hear about that. If you had a Christmas that went so sideways, you have no idea what is going on, I absolutely positively want to hear about it.
Do you think anyone got banged up on Christmas
100%.
and then just made a
Hundo
fool of
percento.
themselves? Because like
I didn't make a fool of myself, but
you got a little banged up.
so look, man, I love Dusty and I love Rusty. They both have gotten me a truckload of booze for both my birthday and Christmas, and I don't drink that often. And so it's just like stacking up in my pant or like in my little like I have a little booze cupboard.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, you got to start drinking that. And I'm like, okay. I took that as in
Twist
like,
my arm.
I'm like, all right. So I went down the. This is gonna sound so much worse. Like I was. So for those who don't know, I play Xbox with some friends that I was in the military with. Like that's kind of what I do when I want to just chill. Is I got friends all over the world that my best friends on the planet are not here. They're not here in like locally. So
Gotcha.
The only way I can talk to them is, the way we hang out is via Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
So we got banged up together online. So we were taking shots in the party. Like
Love it.
so, like we played some 2K together, and we got pretty tilted. And shout out Dusty, he gave me the bottle of Casamigos for my birthday. That is now gone. So it lasted from October 18th until now. I feel like that's a pretty fair amount of time.
That's an impressive amount of time.
Okay.
I love that. Yeah.
So that happened, and that was Christmas Eve or day 23rd. It was one or the other.
Mm.
And that was like, oh, haven't gone down that path in quite some time. It didn't bother me so to speak, but
Right.
I was like, oh, that's a nice little warm feeling. And shout out Dusty for that bottle of Casamigos. It's a clear Reposado.
Yeah, it's tequila, right?
Yeah, but usually it's you get a Blanco is clear. Reposado usually got a brown tint to it.
I was gonna say these mean nothing to me. There's brown tequila or there's clear tequila.
So yeah, you need to find good tequila. Don't worry about the color so much as just good. Stay away from Cuervo and Tarantula.
I like most of it all. I'm like, for the most part, I'll drink any of it. I like Terramana. Terramana's good. I mean, it's the rock, so that kind of hurts me a little bit. But,
Sure.
I mean, it's relatively affordable.
Yeah.
It's gonna taste decent. If I'm gonna go tequila, I'll go there.
I mean, Don Julio's my go-to, but the Casamigos, pretty darn tasty.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one Dusty got me for Christmas was splendid. Absolutely. We had a little taste test of it, and you didn't need nothing.
Oh, no ice, nothing to water it down. Just go.
Nothing. It was like, oh, this is good. And that's when it gets dangerous. That's when it gets dangerous.
That's when it gets fun, Danny.
You need no other helping hands. And I was like, yeah, there we go. So, but that's as banged up as I got, was, banged up while playing video games.
I didn't get banged up, man.
No?
Most of my family, like, I'm the big drinker in my family. Most of my family, they're not drinking. Plus, I got, like, little cousins, like 6th grade, 4th grade. I don't need to be out there acting a fool. They don't need to learn anything from Big Will on Christmas or Christmas Eve about what's happening at college or anything like that. They don't need to see a shotgun. They don't need to learn about that yet. They need to keep believing and trusting in Christmas, the Christmas spirit. I don't want to be that. The last thing I want to be is like, hey, 10 years from now, remember when Big Will fell asleep in our front yard? Like, I don't really want that.
Oh, we got some stories coming in on the Vancouver Ford text line already. 503-864-6326. How was Christmas Eve dinner with the extended family? While we warned her to take it easy, my aunt-in-law was bouncing my 5-month-old son up and down, who proceeded to then puke all over the Christmas ham. That'll ruin dinner real quick.
It's that new sauce.
Christmas Eve at 6 p.m., my son, who's 4 years old, was chasing the dog. He then went head first into the corner of the couch, split his head wide open, and 5 stitches later.
Ooh, and 4 years old is like at that time, too, where, mom thinks he's dead.
Oh, yeah. No, so
Mom thinks he's gone.
I'll throw it up on the YouTubes for anybody those who've ever wondered. This giant scar in the middle of my forehead that I'm putting my finger into right now is my skin sewed to my skull. And that is from when I was 4 years old. I was jumping up and down on mom and dad's bed when they told me not to, and I slipped on the velvet, like, that material gets, when it gets on top of itself.
Oh yeah,
it gets super slick.
Yeah,
I went whoop, headboard, busted it open to the brain meat.
Bounce your head off the headboard.
Yep, I'm not kidding. Literally busted my skull wide open, straight to the brains, and they rushed me to the hospital. I went through like 3 washcloths full of blood.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, but buddy, head wounds. You ever guys seen a good head wound?
I've had staples in my head. I had 4,
and they bleed.
Well, it's right where I started balding, so I can thank Wyatt Buncher and a Nerf gun when I was 1 year or first grade. Yeah,
Nerf gun? When he hit you with it?
He threw it.
Oh,
He threw it to me, and I think I tried to do my best David Beckham header. And, split me wide open.
You just got the wrong angle.
Yeah, don't try to hit the header with the back of your head. Doesn't work out well for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was going to work out well for you in any way. But, yeah,
that's why I'm bald. I get it.
Yeah, I think I ended up getting something like, what did I say? It was like 50 or 60 stitches or something like that. Oh, it was bad, dude. I don't know why. I still don't know why. They sewed my skin to my skull.
That's weird.
I don't know what the reasoning was for that. I don't know if you're a doctor. I mean, I don't know if we have any doctors.
It says MD on my Twitter.
There you go. I don't know if we have any doctors listening, but if we do, why would they have sewn my skin to my skull? That's why I've always wondered that. Like, that's why the scar is so bad and so big.
Yeah. Wonder if you got like the intern.
Probably. I mean, this is the 80s in LA. So.
Yeah, you might have got the intern. you got the student who's trying to figure it out. The kid who got by because like C's.
Yeah, I mean, I wear hats so often that most people probably don't ever notice it. But yeah, it's a giant scar in the middle of my forehead. So, but yeah, that was from the old headboard. So, but hopefully everybody's okay. Here there you go. Got hit in the forehead with a baseball bat in 3rd grade, split it open, had 50 stitches. Yeah, man. I feel like heads, when you break the old melon open, they require a significant amount of stitches.
Yeah, and that's what I don't get, because like WWE wrestlers used to like razor themselves, but they never had stitches.
Yeah, but like those ones are lower. Like it's like a lower level thing. Like it's not as deep.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Like, you don't get me wrong, you get like the serious blood because even topical head
bleeds
wounds,
a bunch.
Yeah, but when you like bust open on the old dome ski, you get stitches for days, man. Like it's wild how many you get. And mine, there's a picture of me when I was a kid. Like you can see, it's just like it looks like somebody like learned how to knit in my forehead. It was just like crochet.
You really got the intern.
Oh, buddy.
You got the intern,
Yeah,
dude.
you know what? Now the more that we go through this, yeah, I got
the intern.
My wife or my wife, my sister got the. I'm getting Christmas gifts confused. Got the learn how to crochet kit for Christmas.
Yeah,
and this is like her next step into becoming entirely washed. And
it's her traveling into old ladydom.
Yeah, 100%. This is the what is it, the sisterhood of the pants or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, that's what this is. Like she got like 3 different like knitting, crocheting kits. And she's like the problem is I wanted this. And I was like, oh well, yeah.
Yeah, because now you got to start crocheting.
Welcome to the Washed Club. This is how this goes. It's like, it's all right.
I can't wait to get old.
Speaking of how this goes, the Portland Trailblazers have their best win of the season last night. Absolutely boat racing the Sacramento Kings. The Kansas City Chiefs get embarrassed by the Raiders. But where we're going to start is there a new MVP in the NFL as the Baltimore Ravens absolutely destroy the San Francisco 49ers in primetime? That and more could be here on Danny and Dusty, 10 Fan. over the San Francisco 49ers, knocking Brock Purdy out of the game before forcing 4 interceptions. But the question becomes now, is the MVP race now down to 2 players? Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey. Number one, yes, it is down to those 2 guys. It's nobody else is there now. It's such a weird year. It's been incredible. Maybe not even incredible is the wrong word, because incredible was Lamar Jackson's actual MVP season. Have you looked at the comparison between the 2 seasons?
Well, I mean, the rushing stats are going to be nowhere near.
Yes,
He's taken a
not only that,
dramatic
the
step
passing touchdowns. He has half the passing touchdowns that he had.
Well, I mean, he had a freak of all freak years, and this year he's
just
kind of like
good.
it's kind of like the Heisman to a degree, right? It's
Yes.
same deal, where you have a bunch of guys who are pretty good, and then it's really just going to come down to who's the best team, or does anyone make the playoff, right? Like, obviously, it's different because all these teams are going to make the playoffs in the NFL, but for college football, if Bo Nix wins that game, I think he makes it and he wins the Heisman.
Yeah,
because they
I
make the
think so
playoff.
too.
With this, it almost seems like whoever won that 49ers Baltimore game,
Was in the driver's seat.
they were going to win the MVP. Because there's nothing to me that Purdy can do to get back in there. And for CMC to get back in there, I just don't know if that's possible because Lamar still has to play Miami. And if Lamar has a good game against Miami and that clinches the number 1 seed and the bye, I don't know how you don't give it to him.
It's a really interesting spot to be. Number one, Lamar Jackson, I want to put this out there. Lamar Jackson has been very good this year. My biggest criticism of Lamar Jackson has always been his inability to take care of the ball and take care of the ball when driving the ball down the field. He's done both this year. He's completing 66.3% of his passes, which is a career high. But if you look at his numbers from his MVP season, he finished with 3,127 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Okay.
Crazy.
Heading into the game on Christmas, his attempts and completions were almost the exact same. As they were in his MVP year, with 3+ games remaining. So his attempts per game are up, his completion percentage is up, his yards per game are up. The average air yards is down ever so slightly from his MVP season, but the difference is 36 touchdowns to now 19.
Yeah,
That's a massive gap.
it's a massive gap. No, there's some variance there, right?
Sure, look, there's variance for sure, but here's his career touchdowns year by year. 6, 36, 26, 16, 17, 19. So, that's 36 to 6, the touchdown interception ratio.
Right.
And his rushing that year, no kidding.
Yeah, he was.
That's an MVP.
He was a freak, and he was doing it in a way that defenses didn't know how to stop him yet. And while defenses certainly aren't stopping him, I mean, the 49ers defense is one of the best in the league, and they could not shut him down. They know a little bit better, I believe, how to contain or limit his numbers, right? You're never going to stop. If LeBron wants to get 20, LeBron's going to get 20. But if you can hold him to 25, that might be a good game, especially back in, the Cleveland days, right? So same idea with Lamar.
So the interesting thing here is why I'm contrasting him with Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey right now is at a career high rushing. His previous career high was 2019, 1,387 yards rushing. He is at 1,395 yards rushing right now.
Of a 1,500-yard year.
1,395 yards right now. He has 1,932 all-purpose yards, which is leading the NFL.
Right.
He has 21 total touchdowns. Okay.
Right.
21 total touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, 24 total touchdowns.
Yeah, the numbers aren't too off there.
I mean, when you
That's
start
impressive.
looking at what they are and who they are, this is, what it makes me think? Literally anybody but a quarterback this year. And it has nothing to do with Lamar Jackson and everything to do with where quarterbacking is in the NFL right now.
It seems to have taken a step back. My issue with giving it to CMC, and it'll never happen, but CMC is not the number 1 player on that offense.
Debo.
it's Trent Williams.
Oh, okay.
When you
This has been my argument,
Right.
is that if you're going to go completely outside the box, it should go to Trent Williams.
Because if you look at him when he's on the field and when he's not, you can directly link all 4 of their losses
to him being out.
injured.
Yep.
When you look at CMC's rushing numbers, he averages almost 1.5 to 2 more yards a carry on average to the left side as opposed to the right side. When he's in, Brock Purdy has more time in the pocket and has less turnovers. When he's out, Brock Purdy has had more of his turnover games where he's fumbled or thrown interceptions, just like he did on Monday night. It will never, ever happen. O-linemen will never get the true love that we deserve. But right now, for my money, the best player in the NFL is Trent Williams with what he can do. He can dominate an entire side of the football.
Have you ever seen the video of him playing wide receiver?
No,
Like at a
but
camp?
it doesn't
It's at a
shock me.
camp or something like
I
that.
bet you he was a tight end in high school.
Well, I mean, he splits out and DB gets on him. Let me go ahead and tell you right now, the release ain't that fast, but the separation he gets by putting his hands in that DB's chest.
Right. Well, and it could, like he is so strong, but he's also so fast. Like,
Imagine trying to press him.
you'd have no shot. I mean, right now, when they run outside zone to his side,
Yeah.
he gets his reach in 3 steps.
Yeah.
And he's not getting pushed to the sideline. And what I'm talking about that,
And it's against elite athletes.
Right.
Like the guys that he's lined up against are the Bosas of the world.
yes, he's doing that against, Khalil Mack. He's doing it against the best defensive
Guys that
end.
know what he's trying to do, and he just goes, I don't care.
Right. And he gets it at 3 yards and he pins him there. And what that does is that gives a gigantic gap for
Yeah.
CMC to run
There's a 5-yard gap essentially from
Right.
whoever's split out and to where Trent has made his seal.
Right. And CMC is a great running back, the best in the league right now. And he makes a lot of guys miss. And the guys he doesn't make miss, he seems to run right over them. Right. But when you have 5 yards to try and nail
To make your move in.
CMC,
Yeah.
you there's no one.
You're playing Oklahoma.
Right.
You're playing Oklahoma against CMC, which good luck.
You're playing Oklahoma by yourself.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Without
Like-
another defensive lineman there to help you.
Yeah.
That's what Trent Williams does. When they need him to get to the backside backer, he annihilates him. There's a great video where on the snap of the ball, Trent Williams just runs right through the backside will linebacker. CMC cuts back, easy touchdown for him. What that guy can do is it's unlike anything we've ever seen before, but he can do it, and he's doing it at a position that almost no one cares about. If there was going to be a MVP for me and on the 49ers, it has to go to him, but it never will.
No.
That's why CMC is hard.
No, that's why we need to change the MVP award to a quarterback award, the Offensive Player of the Year award to literally anything but quarterbacks. That's what needs to happen.
All right. You need like
It needs to be a quarterback-only award. Change the MVP name to best quarterback.
like best quarterback in the league, and then you need like offensive player of the year.
Yes, and
like
it's-
what they used to do in college or in high school, where it's like MVP of the team, offensive MVP, defensive MVP.
Yeah. We've reached that point because we just want to give it to quarterbacks over and over and over again. All right, coming up next, the Portland Trailblazers get their best win of the season against the Sacramento Kings, leading by as many as 20. Rookie Scoot Henderson has his best game of his career. We'll get to that and more. But first, here's Big Will Betts, the Sports Center Update.
This is College Bowl Week with Danny and Dustin.
Closing out the game, 130-113 last night in Moda Center. Anthony Simons continues to be a blessing beyond blessings on the offensive side of the ball, giving them 29 points. But last night, he was not the story of the night. Last night, the Blazers get 65 bleeping points off the bench. 65. The big part of that is Duop Reith, who ended up getting the game ball last night from the Trailblazers, has his career high in both points and rebounds, 25 and 7 for Wop. Just a great dude, an incredible story, a 27-year-old rookie that's literally played all over the world. Awesome dude. I love the guy. But both him and Jabari Walker ball out of their minds, and Scoot Henderson has his best game as a rookie.
Catch the fever.
So far, finishing with 17 points and 11 assists, only one turnover. Shooting 6 of 15 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line. What you are starting to see, and this is happening more and more over the last couple of games, I believe over the last 4 or 5 games now, you're starting to see a little bit more from Scoot. And the big part of that is getting reps and familiarity. I've talked to numerous opponents about Scoot throughout the season so far, and the overwhelming criticism has been he has no plan. He doesn't know what he wants to do, when he wants to do it, how he wants to do it.
Just like e-scooters.
There you go. They need a little guidance, so to speak. What has changed is he's starting to understand things. He's getting reps. I said this on Twitter last night, and I'll say it again here. Damian Lillard told me a couple years ago, I said, well, when did you really start to have an understanding of stuff? When became second nature? You recognize, okay, they want to do this, so I can do this. He said around year 3, year 4. Mm-hmm. Okay. Year 3 or year 4. We are in month 3 with Scoot Henderson, and he's 19.
Dame was what, 23?
22 coming into, or 20, about to be 22.
About to be 22.
Played 4 years in college. Well, was there for 4 years, played 3 because of an injury. But he ran 5,000 pick and rolls. He ran 5,000 pick and rolls. He led the country in scoring. Everybody knew. There's a reason he was a lottery pick. Everyone knew the thing that was going to translate with Damian Lillard is that he was going to be able to run pick and rolls. Scoot does not have that experience. He is literally thousands of pick and rolls behind offensively. Mm-hmm. Defensively, he's thousands of pick and rolls behind on the other side of the ball. He needs these reps. You know, he was in a great mood last night. Obviously, they win, but he had a game where I think for the first time he felt like he really contributed to a win. Right. He had 23 and 10 in garbage time, basically, a couple weeks ago, and he dismissed the box score, like career highs in both points and assists, almost immediately in the postgame. Last night, he was allowing himself to smile and enjoy it because I think he felt like he really impacted winning, and in that, he got to be a bit more of himself. Mm-hmm. You saw him get loose and dunk a few times. You saw him have a reverse finish, knock down a catch and shoot 3, spray the ball around, get other guys involved, and be comfortable. And one of the questions I asked him post-game was, what's something you're recognizing now? Like what's changed between that? Not just like, I asked him earlier in the interview, you know, what's different between now and beginning of the season. He basically said reps. I followed up by asking, what are you recognizing now? He's like, you know what? I notice when teams are loading up and they're loading up the defense behind whoever, like what I need to do in that. I'm recognizing that faster. That's having a plan. That's what that's so much of, is just recognizing and then knowing your decision tree. If A, then B, if B, then C. Mm-hmm. We were just trying to get to the if A. Like, can you even recognize what they're doing?
Right.
And then what do you do from there? And you're seeing the subtle changes little by little by little. Okay. Scoot Henderson in the last 4 games, I want to say I was looking at earlier before. Last 4 games from Scoot Henderson. He's averaging 10 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. Okay. His field goal percentage is not good, 34.2.
But you knew that going into the
3-point percentage, though, 33.3.
Mm-hmm.
Free throw percentage, 86.7. And he's getting the line 4 times a game. So I feel like that field goal percentage by the end of the season is going to be like right about 40%. It's not going to be good. 37, 38, 39 even, because he's been so poor this season. But you're starting to see things change. You're starting to see things come together. And if I bump it to the last 3 games, all of a sudden you start looking at stuff and it's like, oh, that looks a little bit better. He's averaging 11 and 5. 11, 5, and 3, which is funny because I predicted he would average 11 and 5. That was the literal line that I expected for him was 11 and 5. I said on the high end 13 and 7,
Right.
but that he would shoot probably around 40%. You're seeing the expectations that were probably too profound for him to start the year falling away, and he's starting to play the game.
Right.
And that is the thing is coming into the season, Dusty and I, Brandon and Sprague and I on Jack Ramsey's, this wasn't to toot our own horns. This was to set the table for teenage point guards suck. They just do. There have been 3 in the history of the NBA that have ever been good. Kyrie Irving, LaMelo Ball, Stephon Marbury. The rest of them sucked. There's been 24 teenage point guards. And even then, the first couple months for all those guys, they were bad. It took them a couple months to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see those little flashes where he was unable to finish around anybody at the rim a couple weeks ago. Now he's finishing around the rim. He didn't know when and where to get his shots off. Now he didn't have an understanding. He's just starting. It's that feel. Mm-hmm. Chauncey Billups said something in pregame a couple weeks ago that stood out to me. And it wasn't necessarily as it pertains to Scoot, just NBA players in general. One of the things he mentioned was, number one, rookies come in and they work on every shot. And I think some people are like, good, that's what you want to see. No, it's not. Because you don't take every shot. You know who takes every shot? Damian Lillard, John Morant, Joel Embiid. The guy. Mm-hmm. Those guys get to take every shot. You're a rookie. Rookie LeBron James had Ricky Davis tell him, you're here to help me.
The irony.
Number one, the incredible confidence of Ricky Davis is never, ever relenting. It's fantastic. But you have to learn what shots you can take and make. That's part of the process. Scoot is learning what shots he can take and make, which means there will be a lot of failure, and he has to recognize what that stuff looks like. That's what matters.
There's also a problem, too, with so many times now, and that's not just in basketball, but we see the young athlete, the young star work right away, that no one ever gives them time to develop. And as someone who took a long time to develop, and it's not like, I didn't play in any games that anyone ever really cared about other than probably my grandma and my mom. Mm-hmm. But it took me time.
Yeah.
And it takes people time. Everyone just assumes, well, you're 18, you're a man. That's not how it works. It takes a long time to look at Anthony Simons. Yeah. He is a perfect example of this. It has taken him
Ant was
years.
6'3", $180, came in just scrawny as could be.
Took him years. And look at him now. He's averaging, 27?
Yeah. And the thing is, you weren't around then, Will, but one of the things I talked about when he came out of Summer League, I got killed for it. Because I said, there's something about this kid. He has it. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know what that's going to mean down the road, but I said, I can tell you 2 things about him. He could shoot the living hell out of the ball, and he can get his shot off against anybody. Whether that means he's a rotation player, a 6th man of the year, a starter, an all-star, I don't know. He's got to put in the work. He's got to do everything else. But you could see the tangible things he was working with.
Right.
And people are like, oh, it's just something. I'm like, look, man, the tape's there. You can see it. You can ignore it all you want, but, well, now he's one of the best scorers in the league. Exactly. So you look at Scoot, and I know people want to rush to either he's this or he's that. You're starting to understand what he can be. And the Blazers they've won 8 games. They're single-digit wins when there's only, 5 teams in the entire NBA in single-digit wins right now.
Still better than Detroit.
Boy, 27 straight losses. I don't know if we'll manage to work that in today, but there's a lot there. Good Lord. But there's just a lot to take out of this. You know what? Screw it. That's where we actually will go next, because this is a nice contrast for where the Blazers are and where the Detroit Pistons are. So coming up next, we will talk about the streak that will go down in infamy. The Detroit Pistons have lost 27 straight games. Just exactly how different are the Pistons from the Blazers? And remember, it can always get worse. Danny and Dusty, today the Fan. Think about that for a second. An NBA record 27 straight losses.
Ugh.
Like what does that do to you mentally? It has to break you at some point. Or if it hasn't, I mean, if it has to break you, they might already be broken. I don't know. I genuinely will. I don't know if anyone on that team can be a remotely viable player going forward. Like, is this such a thing that seeps so far into your brain that you're just cooked for your career?
I think it might be for Cunningham. I mean, that dude, he showed promise.
I mean, the look on his face was just, I mean,
he looks like you beat him up every day. He goes to work and just gets beaten
right?
up and beaten up and beaten up. And I mean, think about it. When that happens to a normal person at their normal job, they go on Twitter and just complain about their job all the dang time, and they try and get out of it. How does that not do the same thing to a basketball player, but on a much grander scale?
And he's still a kid.
He's 20,
He's still
21?
a kid. He's still a kid. We were just talking about Scoot. Cade is still a kid. And I bring up the Pistons here to highlight the Blazers are this, the Blazers are that, they're not doing blah, blah, blah. This is why the Blazers have Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon, Matisse Thybulle, even DeAndre Ayton. Because those guys keep this ass from going off the bleeping rails. They're functional, good NBA players who understand the day-to-day. Mm-hmm. The Pistons have Bogdanovich, who's been injured. Alec Burks, who's been injured. Joe Harris, who's been injured. When you're not in the lineup, you're not you know this as much as anything, Will. If you're not in the lineup, if you're not in the action, you're not there.
You're not a part of the team. When someone is hurt, you're really on your own island. Mm-hmm. Island of misfit toys, basically.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that so they didn't have those guys. You have your new coach. You have a culture that's eroded. You have a lineup that doesn't make any sense. And now you're in a place that no NBA team has ever went. And if you take a look at the Detroit Pistons schedule,
they're going to dominate this record. They're going to catch the
ABA record.
Well, they're one loss away from the multiple season record that the 76ers had back when they were trusting the process. How'd that work out for you? And when you look at their schedule, where do you see the win coming?
In about 2 weeks against the Spurs. So here's who they have coming up. Thursday, they have the Celtics. Saturday against the Raptors, which the Raptors have been the Craptors this year. They have not been good.
Hate to see it.
But they're not the Pistons. Then you have the Rockets, who are playing better than the Jazz, who just boat raced the Pistons. And
weren't the Pistons favored in that one too?
Yes, it's the first time they've been favored in weeks. It's like the Blazers. The Blazers have been favored twice, and they lost to those same Jazz.
They were over 500 at one point this year.
They were 2-1.
They were over 500 at one point.
Yeah, and the Blazers are the ones who drove them down.
28.
They took them down to 2-3.
So basically, this is Portland's fault.
100%. I was wondering when I first looked at it, I'm like, did the Blazers start this streak? They were second. They were the second loss.
They were at 500, and then the Blazers were like, not so fast.
Yeah. And remember that you had the third quarter.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and then, I mean, you think about this. This is the greatest ad deal Wingstop has ever had. Because that's all I think about. I almost thought Wingstop.
Moving the Wingstop logo around away from the score. Yeah.
Well, the fact that you can eat 5 free wings whenever the Pistons win, and they haven't won since October.
I mean, so you've got Celtics, no. Raptors, probably not. Rockets, probably not. Jazz, maybe. Then Warriors, Nuggets, nope. Kings, nope. Spurs, January 10th. Wizards, January 15th. So you've got the two other worst teams in the league coming up in the next 2+ weeks.
They're going to go 2 full months. 2.
Yeah. I mean, if they right now, teams on the other side are like, we are not going to be the team that lets them win.
No, you can't.
Like you've reached that point of like, we cannot be the team that allows this team to get off their streak. So if you think that the bad teams are like, it's the Pistons. No, they're looking at that going, hell no. We are not going to lose to the worst team in the league.
It's the Barry Bonds thing. Why
Yeah.
no one would pitch to him when he was going for Hank Aaron's record.
Yeah, we're not going to be the one to give it to him.
They didn't want to be on that trivia question.
Nope. Who was the pitcher for Barry Bonds' 71st home run? You know,
Right.
like, nobody wanted to touch that. And so you're gonna get the best punches. And there's a legitimate chance this goes 30 plus games.
That's so brutal.
Bro, I can't fathom this. The Blazers lost 13. Was it 13 straight? I think it's 13 straight.
Something like
A
that.
couple years ago. And it was fundamentally breaking me mentally watching the games. I genuinely feel awful for Pistons fans and Pistons media. Like their owner Gores threw an impromptu press conference the other day, and it was the most bat-ass crazy thing I've ever seen. Nobody's at fault, but there's changes coming. And I was like, oh God, no. The position that this organization is in, it's on the least solid ground I've ever seen. So I say all this to compare and contrast. The Blazers are on the right path.
You're doing the right thing. It's going to be okay.
You're doing just fine, sweetie. Speaking of doing just fine, America's team, the Las Vegas Raiders, are doing just fine. We'll take a look at the AFC West and the AFC playoff picture coming out of Christmas week and coming back here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. anywhere you get your podcast as part of the Service Patriots podcast deal we have going here at 1080 The Fan. Service Patriots is your home comfort solution for all of your heating, air, and all of your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. I'm coming back off a break too. Forgive me. Hour number 2 here, it's NFL heavy. The wonderful, amazing silver and black, the Raiders of Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. 2 defensive touchdowns in under 7 seconds proves more than enough to roll over Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. Will Order, what say you?
I'd say that was pretty darn good defensive performance.
Look, that offense for the Raiders, not good.
No.
Aiden O'Connell, not the quarterback of the future. You know how I know? He didn't complete a pass for 3 quarters.
Well, they had him right where they wanted him. They were able to run the football. I'll tell you what, I was impressed with the offensive line for the Raiders because this Kansas City Chiefs defense is not what it has been in the past, right? Like the last couple of years, everyone has said if the Chiefs had a better defense, they would win more Super Bowls and they would have won them easier. They would have never lost to Cincinnati. They would have never been in a struggle bus fight with Buffalo. They wouldn't have lost to the Buccaneers. That's not this defense. This is a good defense.
And they were stifled.
And they knew that all they could do was run the football. And the
Zamir White
Raiders
said,
still
"Thank
got
you."
the job done.
Zamir White, 22 carries for $145. It's a 6.6 yard average. Did you watch that game?
Yeah.
He-
watched the entire thing. He looked good.
He just
looked
chewed
fast.
them up.
He looked fast.
Just chewed them up. Had a long of 43. Had the one long run. No rushing touchdowns for the Raiders.
Well, but that's why I
No
was,
offensive touchdowns for the Raiders.
right. But that's why I was talking so highly about this O-line. Like when you needed it most, Kansas City kicked deep. They didn't even go for the onside. When they were down 6, they kicked it deep because they're like, oh, we're going to stop you. And that's where his biggest runs came from. When they knew they were going to run the football and Kansas City loaded the box and
he
the
still
Raiders
got
still
through.
got a hat on a hat. And then your running back goes and makes a safety miss, which is his job. It's why he gets paid. They looked absolutely fantastic. And then you can see it. And I listened a little bit because I do like the Kelsey podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I listened to a little bit today where Jason is talking to Travis. You can hear it in his voice. He knows he's lost a step, and he knows that
he has.
losing a step
Yeah.
has murdered the rest of that team. Because
Yeah.
look, he's still a really good tight end. He's a Pro Bowl caliber
Yes.
tight end.
He's just not greatest the game has ever seen caliber anymore.
He cannot carry the entire receiving core on his back from the tight end position, and none of those wide receivers has taken a step up.
I mean,
to replace
Rice has a little bit, but
Rice is a 2 at best.
Yeah, I say he stepped up into a 2
best.
spot. They don't look. We can always talk about, well, somebody didn't have weapons, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, Patrick Mahomes, buddy. You want to be goated. You want to be Tom Brady. Let's go look at Tom Brady's weapons over the years.
Well, this is part of the process, though. Like, remember, when Tom Brady was in New England, he went through 3 different eras of Patriot teams. He went through
There
the
were times
beginning.
when he was not. He was still great,
He was not the guy.
but
Whoa.
he was,
the
but he
guy,
wasn't.
But he wasn't
Yes,
the
the
guy
guy.
that
Yes.
Tom Brady became. Those first 3 Super Bowls, that's that defense.
Yep.
And that third one, you see him start to kind of come out.
Sure.
And then you have his record-setting years where he's got Welker and he's got Moss, but he doesn't bring in any titles. And then he's got the last set where he's got Gronk and he's got Edelman, and they find ways to win titles. With this,
You had Gronk, who is still, to me, at his peak, the greatest tight end that the league has ever seen.
right. Well, and we can have our arguments about that, but Travis Kelce's number 2.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
If
no.
Gronk's number 1,
Yeah.
Travis Kelce's number 2.
Not debating that at all.
And Patrick Mahomes had that. Well,
That's fading.
Kelsey is losing a step, and you're starting to
There's
see
no Julian Edelman.
the second
There's
iteration.
no safety blanket. There's no
Right.
There's nothing else there. And Dusty and I have talked about this the last couple of weeks. Patrick Mahomes also doesn't look right.
He's throwing a lot of interception because he's forcing stuff because he doesn't trust certain receivers,
Yep.
so he's forcing it to others that he does trust.
And you take a look at it. I mean, and look, I know I have the bit of America's team with the Raiders. It's my team, yes.
Marcus team. Marco.
But they suck. So it's kind of tongue in cheek.
Right.
Their offense is abysmal. But Antonio Pierce has those dudes playing.
Yeah. Do you want him as your coach?
Yes, he's going to be. I've talked to folks down there. He's going to be the head coach.
I think he should. I think he's won the job
I think he has too.
because what he's done.
He's a motivator. He's got that defense, and this is what I was getting to. Since he has taken over, that defense is flying around. Flying. And that defense is made up of Max Crosby and then just some dudes.
Right.
And don't get me, Max Crosby, you want to talk about MVPs? If you were going to throw a guy in there, like, again, on just how good they are as a player, Max Crosby's on the list.
Criminally underrated.
Unbelievable dude. And that's not me just being Raiders. Like, he's a monster. At run game, pass game, does not matter. Dude is a absolute freak. One of my favorite things is, have you seen there's like a budding, like, friendly rivalry between Mahomes and Crosby?
Yeah, they kind of don't like each other, but they kind of
But there's a respect there between the two of them, because Mahomes knows how great Crosby is, and Crosby knows how great Mahomes is.
Right, but they also love to get underneath each other's skins.
And I love that.
It all comes from the quarterback documentary where I'm here all day. Yeah, but that's what makes sports fun.
Yes.
I want rivalries. I don't want everyone to love each other. I want there to be some anger.
Yeah, I want some nasty.
Love each other at the end.
And
Tiger and Phil it later.
And the Raiders brought that. You had Amik Robertson talking a whole lot of S coming into the game, talking about how they had some dogs. And then guess what? He said after the game, we got more dogs than them. And that is something I feel like is missing from the Chiefs. They have talent. There's no doubt about that. Even on the offensive side. Now, is it as good as they've had in the past? Nope. But they still have Kelsey. They still have Mahomes. Pacheco, well, and he's healthy, and if he can hold on to a ball. But they still have talent. And on that defensive side of the ball, they have talent. But they don't have dudes right now. They're missing, like...
Not a receiver.
They are swaggerless.
They're getting punched in the mouth.
Yeah, and they're not coming out of the corner.
They're used to success.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I will warn everyone about.
Still Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Playoffs are still there.
Well, and here's my thing. I don't think they win it this year.
I don't either. I mean,
I don't think they're
to
built
be
for it.
fair, I don't know who does this year.
I think Baltimore has to be in the driver's seat.
Sure, Baltimore, even San Francisco. You can go down that list.
Well, if Miami can stay in Miami the whole time, they might be there too. But I'll tell you this right now. When I look at the Chiefs, the issue for them and the position group that they need to fix long term is the easiest to fix. Now, I know that there are going to be Chiefs fans that are like, what are you talking about, Will? We've gone after multiple wide receivers and none of them have hit. Correct. But there's a law of averages, and there are really good wide receivers.
Eventually, somebody's going to not suck.
And they're all over the place. I mean, you've got 3 guys this year that are going to go top 12, probably between Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and Neighbors. Those are 3 guys right there that are going to be unbelievable. Maybe not right away when they first get taken, but they're going to be really good. And you know what that means? There's guys like Troy Franklin
Keon Coleman
that are going to be later. Coleman that's going to be later. Yeah. You have, those are 5 guys. I don't know if there will be 5 wide receivers taken in the first round. There's a long way to go, right? There might be. I could totally see a world where there are. But you're telling me that if those 3 guys that I mentioned at the beginning, between Odunze, Harrison, and Neighbors, if they go in the top 12, you're going to have a shot to move up and go and get Coleman, or to go and get Troy Franklin, or whoever you think is a better fit. And you got to trust that at some point you're going to hit, because multiple teams now who are not known for drafting great wide receivers found dudes in
eventually
the
finding someone.
3rd. Puka Nacua might be the rookie of the year, and he was a 5th round guy.
So you would think that they may find something. The Raiders have found something in Antonio Pierce. Their offense, they need to find a quarterback. Aiden O'Connell's not the dude.
It's a good draft to find a quarterback.
It is a good draft for one of those, which would be great if they would stop winning games.
Dude, there's going to be there are 5 quarterbacks that I think a lot of people like for different reasons that you're going to get a shot at. You're not going to get a shot at 2.
Sure, yeah.
You're not going to
Caleb and Drakes of the world are out of range of the Raiders.
Caleb, yeah, but
my dream of seeing Caleb in silver and black is long gone.
No,
but I will say this: the Raiders at 7-8. And I want to highlight this because of head-to-head matchups, hold the tiebreaker over the Denver Broncos in what could be a race for a playoff spot. The Denver Broncos are moving on, ? From Russell Wilson. chaos in the Rockies. We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. Frauds. 1-3 in their last 4 games, and boy, I didn't see this one coming. Denver Broncos are benching Russell Wilson in favor of Raiders legend Jarrett Stidham. Oh, buddy.
Not good, Bob.
Not great, Bob. But why would this possibly happen? Beyond the fact that the Broncos are frauds, well, it turns out Russell Wilson may or may not have some guarantees in his contract that would trigger playing over the next couple games.
Well, if he got hurt, it's $37 million if he can't pass a physical in March.
I can tell you right now, they could fail him on that physical whenever they wanted to.
Well, that's the thing. If they fail him, they give him 37.
The point being here is they can get it. They're looking. They want to have options to get out of this.
Yep.
They could pass him. They could fail him. They could do whatever they want. There's not a player in professional sports that if a team didn't want to pass or fail them, they could just do it. It's their prerogative. Now, what comes after that is interesting. So as it pertains to the things right now, you go on the front page of the four-letter network, Mr. ESPN, the highlight is, has Russell Wilson played his last game for the Broncos? Because he has $85 million in dead money owed. Remember when they started off like complete crap this season? And I said, I think this is going to be a way where the Broncos are going to look to trade out of him and eat the money in the next couple of years. And we joked back and forth about, could they possibly be a team that was interested in Kyler Murray?
They would have been. Still are, probably.
That they probably are. Swap dead money. The Cardinals aren't going anywhere right now. Why don't they swap dead money? Figure it out. If Kyler's not your guy and you're going to have a high draft pick, why not just swap and figure it out later? Why not go draft if your quarterback, and not only that, if your quarterback isn't there if you're Arizona in the draft, why don't you take a wide receiver? Why don't you take a lineman? Why don't you build everything out, suck for another year, and then try to go get a quarterback again so that everything is ready to go, a la the 49ers, when you find a quarterback? You've got the tackle. You've got the running back. You've got the wide receiver. You've got the defensive parts. Go build out everything else, then go get your quarterback.
My thing here with it, because that's what's going to be interesting for the Cardinals, right? If you want to go down that path of they're going to have a shot at Drake May, but if you still think Kyler's the guy and you really like Kyler, who's been a headache to a degree, you might trade out of that because you saw what the Bears were able to get. They got a haul for the first round pick, for the first overall pick last year. Why couldn't you do the same thing here? If you're the Broncos, it's clear to me he's done. There's no like, will he be back? Won't he be back?
He has $39 million already guaranteed in 2024.
He's done.
There's no doubt about it. They're stuck basically with a $40 million dead weight. The question is whether or not if he gets injured and he can't pass physical come next March, he's then guaranteed $37 million more. So that's why they're trying to protect us. It's the same situation the Raiders are in with Carr last year.
Right.
And with the literal same backup quarterback in Jarrett Stidham.
But that's what tells me right there, the fact that they
done.
benched him, they're done.
They're done.
They want to move on. They don't want this money. But Sean Payton's been very clear from the jump. Sean Payton hates him.
Yes.
I don't know if there's ever been
fair,
a coach that hates their quarterback more than Sean Payton hates Russell Wilson.
I think Pete Carroll's just a nicer version of that, and I don't think he ever liked Russ.
He liked him enough to fight for him and to pick him over a lot of other people. You know, when you start going back through and you look at what they're saying about those old Seahawks teams, he just knew that that was the right quarterback for his system.
Sure, but I also think if you go back through, it's very clear that they went that route because of defensive players aging out and not wanting to pay older defensive players. Like how many of those guys left and were like, yeah, no, they're great somewhere else?
Only Bobby. Right.
And then where's Bobby now?
He's back.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So, like, I think the Seahawks just made a decision that you had to make.
Right. So here comes my other question, and I heard this on Cowherd's show.
Also, Seahawks fans, please feel free to gloat. You guys not only won that trade,
Please,
you crushed that trade.
Well, dude, he's a system QB.
Crushed it.
I mean, Pete Carroll's a great offensive mind. He made Geno Smith work.
He genuinely is. Pete Carroll should be getting all of the flowers right now.
Because of it's his offense, right? His offense is built on not asking his quarterback to be a superstar. Russell Wilson just had big moments where he thought he was a superstar. Here's the thing, though, and here's my question. Is there a market for Russ? Because I genuinely don't think that there is.
Somebody's always dumb enough.
But
somebody is always dumb enough to do it.
But here's the thing. What are you going to sign him for? What is he willing to go and play for? Why would you offer it to him? He's old. He's had his injury issues.
Doesn't matter.
His teammates
look at the Panthers.
Hate him.
Look at the Panthers.
Why would you bring him in? You have Bryce Young.
No. I'm saying just like look at that. Like look at what desperation will do. You will mortgage the entirety of your future for Bryce Young.
Right, but when you go down these teams, who's willing to do that? If you're Arizona, there's no reason because you're going to have a high draft pick.
But
if you're
Chicago, you stopgap it.
If
Chicago's going to use their, I think they're going to finally go get a quarterback and trade Fields away.
I was going to say Chicago. There's no. I would take.
What about
Fields.
Atlanta? What about Atlanta? Would Atlanta rather take Fields or rather take Russell Wilson?
I think I'd take Fields over Russell Wilson. You're going to get him for cheaper, and he's younger if he works.
But the flip side is, does ownership again? Doesn't matter what a GM thinks. It's what ownership thinks. And if ownership thinks Fields, we're going to go with somebody who's more tested. We're done developing guys. We're done. Like, and even if Russ is cooked, and he is, it doesn't matter because all it takes is one owner to do this. And I think you have one in Arizona. I think you have one potentially in Atlanta.
He'll be 36 next year.
Yeah.
Why take the risk?
Because you're dumb.
He can't see
it's the same reason the Broncos traded for him. Because you're dumb and desperate. Because you had a brand new ownership group that wanted to make a splash. The same vein, you have a brand new owner in Phoenix with the Suns who wants to make a splash. Every new owner wants to do this.
Right, but at the time, that made sense. You've now seen him for 2 years.
Doesn't matter. I'm telling you. It just takes one. There's a difference between Russ and Cam Newton. Everybody knew Cam was like, oh, God.
Eye roll.
It was always the same. Russ's eye roll is different. He plays the game. He kisses the babies and holds the puppies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Owner's like, I could get myself behind that. Now, you can say there's probably some racial undertones to that, and you'd probably be right. But that's part of the game. When you're talking about an owner, like, I can decide that's one of our guys, right?
Can sell him. He's marketable.
Yes. That stuff matters, as dumb as it is. So when this is all said and done, can I see him getting one more chance somewhere else? Yeah, I can. How many organizations, ownership, do you trust in the NFL right now? Decision making, through and through. 4, 5?
Handful. Not much.
Yeah. That leaves 25 plus other franchises that could do something dumb.
But they also would have to need the QB.
You probably have, 5, 6 teams right now that need a QB?
Yeah, probably. Maybe more.
Hell, let's get weird. Steelers.
Oh, I was going to say, are you going to say like maybe Minnesota?
Minnesota. Is there a team out there that finds some sort of desperation? Now, I don't think Pittsburgh would ever do it.
I think they're going to hang on to Kenny.
Which is insane. It's not good.
That's what they like to do. They hold on to QBs and they hold on to coaches.
But you look at a team like Atlanta. Hell, Washington.
But these are also teams that are going to be in a spot where they can get decent QBs. They're going to have a shot at a young QB if they want.
But that quarterback sits behind the vet. I think they're done trying to develop. I think there's a level of desperation with those teams.
Instead of just throwing the guy in the fire,
yes.
Hey, you're going to get a year.
And get annihilated. Look what they've done. Where has that gotten them?
Right.
Or are they talking themselves into, hey, we could draft the next CJ Stroud?
But why wouldn't you leave it with, like, if you're Washington, right, and you're going to do that, why wouldn't you just let him battle it out with Sam Howell? You're not paying him anything. If you're Atlanta,
because you have to do something.
You have Tyler Heineke. You have Josh Dobbs in Minnesota or Nick Mullins, right?
You have to do something. And those guys, they aren't even paper mache. They aren't even fake.
Right.
They're fun. They're great stories. The Pasternaut was fun, getting his jersey, all that. But there's just, I've seen this story across sports so many times where you just get talked into it over and over and over again. And there's just no level of like reason or rationale behind what they're doing. None whatsoever.
It's just trying to make big sales.
But I will say, boy, it's fun seeing the Denver Broncos sitting third in the AFC West and underneath America's team, Las Vegas Raiders. Ladies and gentlemen, the silver and black are back, baby. Woo!
You love being on top.
Stupid Chiefs. At least not this week. Not this week. Speaking of being on top, John Morant, NBA's Western Conference Player of the Week, fresh off a 25-game suspension. Is this what the NBA wants? But first, here's Big Will Betts of the SportsCenter Update. week after a 25-game suspension. He hit a game winner in his first game back, 28-8 against the Pacers, and then 30-11 against the Hawks on Saturday, which averaged out to be 28-9-6 in his first 3 games back. Turns out John Morant, still good at basketball.
Seems to be the catalyst to all of their success.
Now, there's a thing about him last night dancing, doing the same dance the LSU football team did, which I have zero issues with. Have fun. I want guys to have fun on the court. Now, the video of his dad, courtside, seemingly hammered out of his mind, I don't think that's a great look. Because as much as Jaw, flashing the blicky was what got him in trouble, it's the booze that got him in trouble. That's what got him in trouble.
Yeah, that and the crappy friends.
Well, that's what I mean. The enabling. There's countless videos of him pounding on bottles of alcohol. Again, being young and dumb is not a crime. Being young and dumb when you have millions of dollars at stake, that's the crime. And I've mentioned this before. There's not a person that I've talked to in the NBA on the front office, scout, executives, whatever you want to call it, front office personnel, to quote one of the newsbreakers, who thinks he's not going to screw up again.
Yeah, he's shown that he will. Even if you're cool with him celebrating showing the gun, there's a bunch of people that aren't. And I feel like they're warranted in not being cool with it because he's shown that he hasn't learned his lesson. If I was Ja, I would lock myself in a room with no gun-shaped objects of any kind, squirt, water, or any other true weapon. That's what they're called. It's a squirt gun with water gun. Don't make a face. Don't be gross. Don't be gross.
Whoa.
Don't be gross.
Well, I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Don't be gross.
No idea what you're talking about. But they don't trust him to make the right decisions because why?
He showed he can't.
Yes, he can't handle it. So you look at this situation right now, and the NBA is sitting there going, should we promote him? Should we promote him? And they don't have a choice because he was fantastic.
He's too good.
Is the NBA setting themselves up for failure?
No. Because this player has happened before. This player has been here before, and there will be another player like this. And it won't necessarily be guns, per se, right? And Ja is going to get more publicity because of how truly special he is. But do you really think what Ja's doing is any crazier than Gilbert Arenas? Do you really think it's any crazier than what Dennis Rodman
No,
was
and what happened to those guys?
They weren't promoted as heavily, but Dennis
they were also
Rodman played forever.
But Gilbert got run out of the league.
Yeah. But he was still, people still, he's still a big name.
If Rodman hadn't won at the level that he had won at, he would not be around.
Right. Well, and that helps Ja to a degree too. But you look at the NFL, Alden Smith, that's another guy like that. Josh Gordon. And now again, it's not guns. And with Josh Gordon, it's a severe addiction.
Yeah, but habitually making mistakes over and over.
And it's the same one over and over and over again. There's always going to be that guy, but they're going to get to where they have or get to a place like the NBA, being one of the top players, because of their talent level, and no one is going to stop enabling them, because if you stop, the other guy next to him will, and he will take your place. And you don't get to be in the circle.
Well, and that's the thing, is you got to get those guys out of that. There's perfect examples of 2 Northwest guys. Kevin Porter Jr. up in Washington.
Mm-hmm. Beach.
Gang involvement, having the wrong people around him. Was enabled at USC in college and then in the pros over and over and over again. And now he may be done. DeJounte Murray, Seattle guy, also involved with gangs. Wrong people around him. He's talked about it multiple times. In fact, he just did All the Smoke with Steven Jackson, who, same thing, got out of that life.
Right.
Enough.
The one that sticks out in my head, the Honey Badger.
Tyrann Mathieu.
The ultimate example.
Just screwing up left, right, and center. And now he's a, Citizen of the Year award finalist in the NFL.
Right. He's a family man. He doesn't go and do that. Another one, the Oregon State safety with the Bills.
Poyer.
I want to say Pryor.
Yeah.
Poyer, another guy, had his own issues and has completely turned around. I mean, he had some messy stuff. And now, like, from what it sounds like.
Honey Badger's the guy who takes guys under his wing now.
Right.
Tries to keep them going down his path.
Keep him on the right path.
Yeah.
So there could be someone that could do this for Ja, but one, is Ja going to be able to listen? Because it takes a special person to listen, right? It took Matthew hitting literal rock bottom to finally start listening, right? It took that. So can someone with enough power and enough respect from Ja get to him? Because right now it's clearly not in Memphis.
Well, no one in Memphis. I'll tell you right now. What I have been told is Memphis, the organization, they don't have anybody strong enough there to control him. There's no Pat Riley. There's no Phil Jackson. There's nobody that has been there for any period of time with any sort of record that could sit him down and go, shut the hell up and do as I say.
And I think it comes more from a player perspective.
Well, there's no player there either. There's no like Steven Adams is the closest thing they have.
And that's
not who he is.
And that's not going to be enough to get him though. Cause like when you think about it with Matthew is he messed up so bad and then he had players go and help him. When you look at Poyer, he messed up so bad and then he had people in his camp that went and helped him. When you look at these issues happening, when people stop and are able to stop them from going on, it's because someone their age, their peer, someone that they look up to goes and gets them and says, hey, we got to get you on the right path. Because right now, if it was an adult, because me and Ja, we're not that different in age. If you really think about it, I think he's a year or two younger than me.
It's kind of crazy to think about, right?
You know what I know what I would say. If I didn't respect that person, it wasn't someone that helped me out. If someone off the street just came up to me and was like, hey, Will, you need to stop doing this.
Bleep.
I'm not listening to you.
And then this on the Vancouver Ford text line, too bad no one could have taken Colt Lyerla under his wing.
Right.
And obviously that's the worst example of how far this stuff can go. Vancouver Ford text line, all texts of the fan are via the Vancouver Ford text line. Your dollar goes further. Vancouver Ford, they treat you right before, during, after sale. Visit VancouverFord.com. Also the text line, as far as John Morant goes, that's what his freaking parents are for, because he has both and he was raised right. His pops right now is his biggest enabler.
Just because you have both doesn't mean you were raised right.
No. So this is something I was told in the pre-draft process before Ja came out in the same draft as Zion, was that this if you go back and read my tweets, like I was a guy who was like, I could see teams taking Ja 1 over Zion. Like because of the weight issues were always going to be a thing with Zion.
Right.
And I go, everything I have heard is that not only is he the first guy in NCAA basketball history to average 20 and 10, 20 points, 10 assists. He's a guy who you can build your franchise around because he gets it. There was like a Lillard-esque quality, small school,
what I remember
Murray State, leader, good dude. Like, so for those that don't know, NBA offices, teams, they hire security firms to do backgrounds on these guys. There's a lot of millions of dollars being paid to them, so millions of dollars is put into them to check these things out. And what I was told in the pre-draft process was, Ja is a guy who you can trust. He can be like, he's a worker. He's a squeaky clean.
Yeah.
Like as far as,
could be
young NBA guys go. Like there's always this guy's, he likes to have some fun.
It's a young kid. It is what it is.
Yeah, like there's nothing there. But like you don't have to worry about him. You can trust him. There's a level of respect that's mutual. That's gone.
Yeah.
That's gone.
And it should be from his actions.
And so that whether or not he's able to save this is going to be really interesting. Speaking of levels of respect and breaking them, the Packers' Jair Alexander, boy, did he go down a path that nobody saw coming. We'll get to that and put a wrap on today's show here on Danny and Dusty, Today the Fan. conduct detrimental to the team. And when I first saw the come up, I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then, well, I'll just let Jair tell you himself.
So were you supposed to be a captain? Because the team announces the 3 game captains, and you were the 4th, and you called a toss. What happened there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, it's only suiting. You know, I don't think Coach knew I was from Charlotte. You know,
So you just did that on your own?
I mean, it was like the guys backed me up. You know, so they knew I was from here.
Did you realize you almost made a big mistake on the call, though?
What'd I do?
Well, you said we want to go on defense.
Yeah.
Which, in theory, they could have said, then you're electing to kick off, which you would have lost the opportunity then to receive in the second half.
Yeah, no, I told them that. I said I want our defense to be out there, and they all looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, I mean, it's pretty simple what I said. Like, I want the defense to be out there. They like, you mean defer? I'm like, yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Did he say that to you?
Yeah,
because the mic was on. And
We heard you.
Oh, really? Nah, he was just like, defer? I was like, yeah. Everybody was like, yeah. Everybody was laughing. I'm like, what y'all laughing at? Like, it's pretty obvious what I'm asking for.
So did anyone say anything to you when you got back to the sideline?
Why would they?
This is just so violently dumb. What on earth? So,
How do you not know? You've been playing football for years.
and I mean, he's probably been the best player on his team
You've been
everywhere.
at multiple
everywhere.
captain tosses.
Yeah, like it's. I don't know what's dumber here, that him not knowing what the defer is, or him just like, I'm going to be a captain.
I'm not only am I going to be a captain, I'm going to speak. I'm going to be the speaking.
It's
captain.
making me speechless
It's unbelievable.
because you could hear the.
Why would they talk to me?
Did you understand that you almost cost your team the ball?
No. Why would they be mad at me? Why would you be upset?
It's wild though that Matt LaFleur has taken this and suspended him, right? That's a little crazy, right?
When they're getting ready to play Justin Jefferson in a must-win,
Like, this is weird, right? Like, there has to be more going on here. There has to be.
unbelievable to just be like, no, I'm with the captain now. He
went
Captain
full
Phillips.
Captain Phillips.
He Captain Phillips
And he didn't know what to say.
his own team.
He needed a Tom Hanks to bail him out on the microphone.
Unbelievable.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
But that's such a corner thing to do.
Oh, God.
Like, as far as position, you know who you'd never see do that? An offensive lineman.
It's true. Or a
Which is
fullback.
smart. No, you wouldn't see that. Well, they might not be a captain.
Wow. Fullbacks matter.
Well, they did.
We did. We used to.
There's like five of you left. Well, you know what it is? You're like the pandas in the San Diego Zoo. You just won't mate. There's like 10 fullbacks left, and you just can't get any of them to mate.
No, it's just that this is
You
it.
you
This is the
want them
end.
to mate, and they just won't. They refuse. They're just
Kyle
friend-zoning
Juszczyk's just
each
looking
other.
around like, I refuse.
Kyle Juszczyk and Alec Ingold have just they're friends.
Yep.
And they refuse to
Nope.
mate. They
Totally-
could mate.
It's totally platonic.
They could mate if they wanted to. They should mate by science standards, but they won't.
Well, thank you for mating with us today. It's been a wonderful day post-Christmas. Hope everybody had a safe and happy holidays or through Christmas, and then obviously coming up here with New Year's. We'll be back tomorrow.